Welcome back to another episode of Mailbag Monday, where Chris and I are answering your marketing data and AI questions every Monday. This week, Jessie asks, where would you recommend to build a community? So, Chris, where would you recommend to build a community?
The answer is it
It
depends.
depends.
It depends. And it depends on three things. It depends on where your audience spends time right now,
Mm-hmm.
what you want that community to do, like what activities and stuff, and what is the overall purpose of the community. How does it fit into your overall strategy? In terms of sort of unsurprisingly, this mirrors the Trust Insights 5Ps, right? Your purpose, people, process, platform, performance. What is the purpose of the community? Who you want in the community? How are you going to manage the community? What platform is it the best fit for those requirements? And then how do you measure that? And again, it's gonna vary wildly. There's so many platform choices alone that it can be kind of bewildering, but that's the last thing to select. You really want to work out the other stuff first.
And I think that's, it's interesting because the question was, where would you build a community? And there's so many things to answer before you even get there. Because you may find that even having an in-person, like a live human community is your best bet versus having something that's strictly online. There may be a hybrid option. Maybe people get together once a month at a community center and then you keep them up to date with an email newsletter. Or maybe the community is solely within the email newsletter. Or maybe it's something within a social media. Or maybe, there's a lot of different possibilities. But the first and foremost is you need to know where your community is and who that's comprised of. I think there's sort of the two. There's the today state and then there's the future state. And so today, you may have just a handful of members or potential members that are all sort of scattered across different, platforms. That may be, where you're starting. So the question then is, okay, if I have people who are on Twitter and I have people who are in my email newsletter and I have people who, sometimes are on LinkedIn, how do I get all of those people together? Well, what's going to be the most beneficial for your goals, for your company? And so if your goal is to strictly sell to people, to find an audience to sell to, then I would probably suggest not spending the time to build like a Slack or Discord community. I would say you could probably keep it on social, an existing social media like a Twitter or a LinkedIn or something else. But if you're looking to truly build a community of loyalists and evangelists, creating a private social community is probably going to be your best bet. And then, to Chris's point, there's no shortage of platforms that you can do that on. We often talk about Slack and Discord because those are the two most well-known, but there's a wide variety of platforms. I manage the Women in Analytics private corporate community, and that's on a platform called Mighty Networks.
Exactly. If you pop into the MarTech 11,000, you'll notice there's an entire subcategory here of the different map or community management solutions. And there's this whole category here is, social and relationships. There's probably easily 500 different solutions for managing a community of some kind, if you include like webinar platforms and things as well. My recommendation, and this goes back to sort of process, is if you want to be able to reliably reach your audience, you want to look at a platform that is not on mainstream social media, right? Because if you are on LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups and things, you are competing with everything else in those news feeds, and your visibility is guaranteed to be very, very low. I remember when we tried running our Analytics for Marketers Slack group on Facebook, 1 out of 100 people even saw our posts, much less integrated them. And this was with a relatively new group. So at that point, the algorithm was still working in our favor. Today, if we were still there, there'd be nothing there.
What's interesting, as I'm looking at this, it strikes me that even just the term community is so wide open for interpretation. And so if let's say your, manager comes to you and says, we need to start a community, you really need to pick apart what that means. Is it you're looking to find your, to your point, Chris, you're looking to find your audience and be able to target them all the time. That is a version of a community, or a community where there's more give and take and communication and conversation. That's another version of a community. Maybe you're looking to do influencer marketing. That's a different version of a community. So you really need to be clear on, when you say, where would you recommend building a community? What does community actually mean? And so you really need to be clear about how you're defining it.
Exactly. And what makes a community successful is generally not the platform. I mean, the platform is, again, one of the things that we actually take from our friend Mitch Scholl is, you don't want to be in one more thing on someone's to-do list, right? So if you are choosing some, bespoke brand new community or building your own thing, that's another thing for someone to remember to do. If you are integrated in a platform like Slack or Discord, where people are spending the time already, it's not extra work. There's nothing new for them to install and things. So I mean, there are considerations on the platform side, but it really is about what value you're going to provide on the process side that will help nurture and grow that community. If you have watch parties where people can watch a video together, or music parties, there's a number of Discord communities where someone is DJing, like techno music in the middle of the workday. Like, you want to put your head down, get some work done, and you don't want to choose your playlist yourself. You can just hop into one of the music parties, and there's no one speaking. There's no words. It's just someone spinning house or techno or progressive rock or whatever. There are things that, like you do, Katie, in the Analytics for Marketers Slack group, where you're asking questions of the day, and sometimes they're serious questions, sometimes they're not. There's all these processes that are really what make a community successful. So where you build isn't as important as how you're going to run it.
On that train of thinking, so John, our other partner, every Friday he offers up the Friday afternoon on Turntable, where he's spinning tunes, and basically it's just an opportunity. It's a different kind of community where it's solely people join it and can swap off playing DJ. I've joined it a few times, and it's interesting. It gives you like a little avatar. It looks like you're standing in a pit looking up at the DJ, and whoever's turn it is to play the music is in the DJ booth, and then everyone else is down in the pit, and you can like thumbs up or thumbs down the music, like it's killing the vibe or this is great. And so it's just another version of a community. So a community doesn't necessarily have to be something where people are having a conversation. It can literally just be a gathering place for people to, have a shared interest. So it really does come back to, what is the purpose of the community that you want to create for your organization? It could be a customer service community. It could be, people who are, super psyched about your product and are going to start being evangelists for your product because they're so passionate about it. So how do you continue to incentivize these people to be, speaking on your behalf? So there's a lot of different ways to be thinking about it, but that's really where you start. To Chris's point, the platform is the last thing that you choose. The very first thing you need to do is figure out why you want a community in the first place.
Exactly. Now, in terms of platforms, again, this is a thing where, if you want to be successful, like what Katie was saying, there's building for today and there's building for the future. If you're building for today, then you want to do an email survey to your community, to your audience right now, and say, where do you spend your time on these 5 platforms? Slack, Discord, Microsoft Teams, et cetera, et cetera. And then, based on the responses you get from your audience, that will help guide you to where that community is right now. However, my recommendation is, if you are building for the future, for the way the industry seems to be going, if I had to pick a platform to start brand new today, I would 100% be on Discord, because that platform is engineered specifically for community building, where Slack is like workplace collaboration. And the cost of running a fully featured community is much, much lower on Discord than it is for Slack. If Analytics for Marketers were on Slack today, we would be paying upwards around $12,000 a month just to operate that community and give everyone full features. The equivalent community on Discord would cost us about, I believe, like $150 a month, I think is what it would work out for the type of community we run. It would be there would be different people participating because people have varying comfort levels with the different platforms. But if I was building for the next 5 years, that's the way I would go.
Well, and I think that that's exactly it. So that's, I mean, there's sort of, and I, not to pick on you, but to pick on you, you're talking about your comfort level. You choose Discord, but our community, we've asked them and they don't want to move to Discord. And so those
Mm-hmm.
are the things that as you're building, you definitely have to think about the voice of your customer, the voice of your audience, and really take that in consideration of, okay, my audience, my community, my customers are hardcore. They want to stay in Facebook groups. All right, we got to meet them where they're at versus where I'm trying to force them to go. And so there's definitely that give and take when you're building a community, because unless you set out to say this community is going to be exactly what I want it to be and it's going to be self-serving to me, you need to really consider what your audience wants to.
Exactly. So that's communities. If you've got some thoughts of your own as to where you want to offer a community or how you want to think about communities or suggestions you have for running a community, pop by our community over at trustinsights.ai/analyticsformarketers, where you and over 3,000 other marketers are asking and answering each other's questions every single day. And if you want to catch up on previous episodes of Mailbag Monday, go to our newsletter. Make sure you're subscribed. You'll get email updates every Wednesday from trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.